Salusa Secundus was known in the Imperium for its harsh environment and grim conditions. It was the ancestral homeworld of House Carino, but it was later transformed into a prison planet after they moved to Kaitane. This happened around 8,000 years before the events of Dune, and the Emperor at that time saw a huge potential in turning Salusa Secundus into a prison. He realized that the natural selection on a planet with such brutal conditions could breed formidable warriors, and in time, it became the training ground for the Imperial elite military force, the formidable Sardaukar. In this regard, Salusa Secundus had a similar function to that of Arrakis, in toughening up its inhabitants, with the harsh desert environment of Dune, playing the same role in hardening the Fremen into fearsome warriors. Salusa Secundus is the third planet in the Gamma-wiping solar system, which comprises a total of 7 planets and is located about 130 light-years away from ancient Earth. Frank Herbert likely drew inspiration from Gamma Piscium, a real star system 135 light-years from our home, which features at its center a yellow giant, 11 times bigger than our Sun and 63 times brighter. The size and brightness of this star is impossible in our fictional scenario, because Salusa Secundus is thought to share some similarities with our home world, closely mirroring Earth in terms of size, position relative to its star, land distribution, and atmospheric composition. Salusa is a Latin word, and it may originate from the Roman goddess Salus, with its intended meaning potentially being that of safety or salvation. Secundus in Latin also means the second, and it's not completely implausible that an imperial planet, converting prisoners into zealous warriors, would be called Second Salvation. The history of this planet is shrouded in mystery, with very little information coming from the original 6 books written by Frank Herbert. The first theory is that Salusa Secundus was always a horrible planet with a cruel environment, and not much has changed over time. But the second theory is that it had a similar path to that of Dune, being in the past a hospitable world and changing into a harsh environment. We will explore the second theory first, which is the version of the extended Dune, and after that, we will dive into the theory presented by the Dune Encyclopedia, thus giving you the chance to choose the one that you prefer. As the ancestral home of House Carino, Salusa Secundus was in the past a beautiful green world with a pleasant climate, inhabited by millions of free people. The planet was the central point of the League of Nobles for more than 1,000 years, before and during the Butlerian Jihad. Zemia served as the capital city, nestled among hills adorned with vineyards and olive groves, and home to the Parliament Hall where representatives from different worlds gathered. 20 years after the Butlerian Jihad was over, the organization was transformed into a new institution representing all the great houses known as the Landsraad. 2,000 years later, a major catastrophic event known as the Salusa Holocaust happened on Salusa Secundus that drastically changed the planet's ecology. House Tantor successfully managed to land on Salusa with their atomic weapons, starting a nuclear war that triggered an environmental disaster. The surviving members of House Carino relocated the imperial throne to Kaitane, situated in a different solar system. There, they rebuilt the dynasty and reinstated the imperial government alongside the other survivors. The imperial authority used this event as an opportunity to turn the unforgiving environment of Salusa Secundus into a prison. Those who broke the imperial law, anyone from criminals to political rivals, were judged guilty and sentenced to be imprisoned on the planet, with the oppressive conditions leading to a mortality rate of 60% among the new prisoners. Over the centuries, the constant struggle for survival on the planet, where only 53% of newborns managed to survive till the age of 11, instilled in them a resilience similar to that of the Fremen, making them some of the most feared and respected soldiers in the Imperium. Dune Encyclopedia tells us that Salusa Secundus had always endured an extreme climate, with wide fluctuations in temperature, spanning from -45 to 60 degrees Celsius. These extreme temperature conditions led to various climate zones, and even the most hospitable places have highly infertile soils. The overall landscape is characterized by challenging terrain that holds very limited natural resources, with the small amounts of iron ore providing the foundries with barely enough material to manufacture weapons. When it comes to fauna, Salusa Secundus is populated by deadly wildlife, with a species of buffalo playing a crucial role as the primary source of both fur and meat. The population of the planet was small, divided into tribes that continuously fought over land and natural resources. The Sardau was one of those tribes, and due to their superior fighting prowess, they conquered more and more land until they subjugated the other tribes. They had a well-implemented tradition with a very high birth rate, many children losing their lives before 12 years old due to numerous trials and the brutal conditions. The unforgiving natural selection of the planet led to the rise of elite warriors known as the Sardaukar, and after they solidified their dominance on a planetary level, they started to leave Salusa Secundus, becoming mercenaries and gaining control over other worlds in the Imperium. 280 years after the Butlerian Jihad, the usurper Sadr Harkonnen designated Salusa Secundus as a prison colony. Over time, the prisoners and their descendants gained admiration for the Sardaukar, looking forward to the opportunity of joining their ranks and earning themselves a better life. After the ruthless journey of an individual to become an Imperial Sardaukar, the life quality changes drastically, being noted that Sardaukar troopers live a quite luxurious life, with beautiful women and fine mansions, a life almost as exalted as that of any member of a great house. The Sardaukar's combat skills were legendary across the old empire. They were indoctrinated with a fervent religious zeal, a potent tool in enhancing their loyalty towards the emperor. Their rigorous training regimen gave them exceptional swordsmanship, believed to be close in skill to the level of the Jinaz swordmasters and the trained Bene Gesserit. But their real strength comes from numbers. And as a military force, the few who could rival them in battle were the Fremen, who were toughened up by the harsh desert environment, and maybe the elite military force of House Atreides, trained by Duncan Idaho and Gurney Halleck. The Fremen usually looked down on Harkonnen soldiers for their perceived cowardice and lack of strength, but acknowledged the Sardaukar as incredible fighters and even respected them to some degree. The Fremen have an ancestral connection with Salusa Secundus, being remembered in their tales as being a temporary home for their ancestors, the Zensuni Wanderers. It is thought that they were slaves on the planet for 9 generations, before they managed to escape the prison planet and move to Ischia. The Sardaukar have at their disposal a wide variety of weapons, from long-range stealth options like hunter-seekers to the powerful lost guns. However, lost guns were generally not used when shields were being employed, because contact reaction between a lost gun beam and a shield creates a nuclear explosion that often kills everyone within a large radius. Their characteristic swords are the most used weapons in their arsenal for close-quarter combat, and the Shigawar Garrote is mainly used for stealth missions. They were highly skilled in undercover operations, being able to blend into groups for long periods of time before launching their attacks. The Sardaukar played a crucial role in upholding the imperial dominance of House Carino throughout millennia. By the time of Emperor Shaddam IV, although still formidable, they had fallen prey to arrogance and overconfidence, losing some roughness due to their luxurious lifestyle. During the Harkonnen assault on Dune, the Emperor supplied Sardaukar troops to make sure that House Atreides is exterminated, and even though the Imperial troops wore Harkonnen uniforms to conceal their identity, House Atreides still managed to identify them by their distinctive fighting technique. But their ultimate test was during the Battle of Arrakeen, when 5 legions of Sardaukar were brought by the Emperor to deal with the Fremen. A well-planned attack by Paul Atreides and Gurney Halleck where they used atomic weapons to destroy the shield, and the incoming sandstorm to cover the charge of the Fremen forces on top of sandworms, led to the annihilation of the Sardaukar and the remaining Harkonnen forces. During the negotiations before taking the crown and Irulan as his wife, Paul assured the Emperor that he would retain a position on Salusa Secundus, promising him that the planet would be transformed into a beautiful world. At first sight, this gesture was to demonstrate respect for the former Emperor, but the real intention was to deprive House Carino of the training ground for his Sardaukar troops, thus avoiding any possible military buildup and retaliation in the future. They were allowed to maintain only one Imperial Legion on Salusa Secundus. After Leto ascended to the Imperial throne as God Emperor, the Sardaukar slowly lost their significance and became just a shadow of their former selves.